My loves, who's tired? Who's exhausted? Who's sleepy? Who's worn down? Anybody? Anybody? You know that I love talking about suffering because I love helping us get to the other side. Today, we're talking about reasons, 8 specifically reasons, why you may be overtired. And this is not about the physical things, the medical things. This is not about how much sleep you're getting at night, your sleep hygiene. It's not about how tight your pants are, and it's not about your commute to work. This is about what we all know is true, or you wouldn't be here listening to With Love, Danielle. We all know it's energy. We say it in relationships. This is so exhausting. So let's make the overt connection from the emotional to the physical, and then let's heal it. Let's lift it and lighten it and dissolve it. I want to do all I can to help us get to vibrant and peaceful and lit up and strong. Okay? All right. Okay, now here's my disclaimer. Some of these potential reasons I'm going to give you for about why you might be so exhausted right now, they may sound a little bit blamey, which you know is not my thing. I do everything I can to steer us towards like empowerment. But here we go. I'm not even going to give you more of a preface than that. Let's just go for it. Reason number 1 that you may be on the overtired side. Your people question your worth. Your people question your worth. And you know what? That can be tiring. It's exhausting. It's anti-life force. It's actually insane. When there is not a flow of gratitude for your existence, that's nuts. We're all here on the same planet at the same time to burn our karma, to raise our consciousness. It's a miracle that we're all here on the planet at the same time to burn our karma and raise our consciousness. We all deserve to be questioned. I've said in many a conversation, specifically about this topic of worth, that a mother, a loving father, a unconditionally loving deity would think it was so silly and ridiculous if you ever went to them and said, "Am I worthy? Do you love me?" Of course you're worthy. We don't even ask that question around here. You were loved before you incarnated. You were loved before the existence of time. You will be the beloved throughout time. Don't be so silly. So deeply philosophically speaking, it's kind of bonkers for anybody to question your worth. And yet, here we are. So what's the antidote to this, to the fatigue of people questioning your worth? Well, you go where the love is. You go where the love is. You are entitled to experience feeling seen and feeling heard and feeling understood. Just go find a better fit. Doesn't make you weak. It doesn't degrade the people that you might have to peace out on. It is how you show God that you are in respect of your life. You go where the love is. Find the better fit. Now, if you want to stay in a situation where you're at, but people are questioning your worth, maybe there's some legitimacy to you actually working on bringing more value to the situation, right? There can be a healthy side of getting really enthusiastic about working to actually increase your value in the situation. You know, this could be in a romantic relationship. Maybe, you know, your partner's got a point and you could learn a few things about listening, about being more romantic, attentive, gentle, spicy. And love actually wants to try and love the other person according to their love language. That's how we expand. We become multilingual with love. Okay, now here's the third possibility. When you're in that really tiring dynamic in which people are questioning your worth, accept it. Accept it with a capital A, soul quality of acceptance. You accept that the people you're with, by choice, we're all in choice here, are at a different consciousness level. And they come from challenging circumstances. And gratitude and appreciation and celebrating your worth is not currently, might be in the future because everybody evolves, it's like not currently their strength. They don't know how to do it. Maybe they're actually dealing with their own issues around depression, mental stability. Maybe they're naive. They've never had the personal life experience of being validated and celebrated. people who have not healed a good amount of their trauma may find it a stretch, may actually find it really stressful to live in the higher vibration of gratitude, appreciation, celebration. Maybe they just can't do it for now. Which brings me back to my first point, which is you go where the love is. You're not going to get all the love you need and all the flavors from one single person. You got to spread your neediness around. I'm kidding. It's not needy. It is valid, beautiful humanity to want to feel worthy wherever you go. Okay, second point. You know what's really tiring? Disrespect. So I'm going to lean on the Gottmans, creators of the Love Lab, great couple psychotherapists. Specifically, I want to talk about their definition of contempt, which is one of the most overt forms of disrespect. This is how they put it. Contempt comes from a place of superiority and makes the other feel inferior. This is really interesting. Deep down, it stems from a sense of feeling unappreciated and unacknowledged in the relationship. It can take the form of verbal or nonverbal language, which can include sarcasm, mockery, and facial gestures. Anybody? Okay, let's stay with the Gottmans. This gets more subtle. Often, partners are unaware of what they said or did, especially contemptuous gestures like an eye roll or a chuckle that elicited their partner's wrath. Whether in words or behaviors, contempt escalates the conflict situation. It is no more about the issue that started the argument, but an attack on the worthiness of a person, almost like saying, "You are insignificant." How disrespectful is that? More specifically, how exhausting is that? Okay, I got to raise my hand here and admit that too many times I have shown contempt in relationships, and it did stem from that place of feeling unappreciated, unacknowledged, misunderstood, but no excuse for the perpetual hairy eyeball. I would think to myself, of course, that I was more superior or enlightened because I could see the dynamic in the situation. I knew that I was being sarcastic and slightly mockerish, but that because I wasn't verbalizing it, I was a better person. But we all know. I mean, there was a period of my life where every photo that was taken of me in my household, I looked so pissed off. And while it is legitimately coming from a place of pain, it is a toxic way of trying to heal my own pain. I'll put it in the past tense. I learned a lot from that relationship. I became more heart-centered, which brings us to one of the ways to get to vibrancy and to get lit up when there is some sloppy disrespect coming at us from other people and coming out of us towards others and towards ourselves. So how the Gottmans describe what I would call heart-centered living is they talk about softening the startup. So really, you show your heart before the conflict escalates. So the softening is about expressing your vulnerabilities that are behind the shadow stuff, the really hard emotions like anger and contempt. And, this is the work of the Buddha, but you're going to share your vulnerable feelings when you are triggered in a gentle tone. Tone, in my experience at least, and with the thousands and thousands of couples that the Gottmans have worked with, tone is everything. So I'll give you the example that they're really specific with. Someone might say, "I feel annoyed and stupid when my actions are corrected." See, it's hard for me to not even sound contemptuous in this because I'm so pissed off. Right now I'm pissed off reading their example. Okay, I'm going to take a deep breath from my heart, feel that golden, warm, luminous quality. Okay, let me act like the vulnerable person right now. Okay, I feel really annoyed and I feel stupid when you correct my actions. And what I really need is your appreciation and your faith in me. Did that did that sound legit? That actually felt legit. I can get into that tone. I can do it. I can do the love. So you do that. You soften the startup, that moment where you could just totally go fucking off, and you really hold your tone. That helps the other person who's been a contemptuous asshole better understand and empathize with your concerns. And then, of course, the Gottmans go on to suggest appreciation and fondness. This is what I would call WOV. How they explain it is couples who invest positively in the non-conflict hours of the relationship. So when things are not hitting the fan, you are loving, you are sharing the admiration, they have a way more better chance of making it. Of course, you're putting love dollars in the bank when it's easy to make those investments. You just love and keep on loving. Now, I want to say something specifically here about respect, contempt, sloppy disrespect, specifically with parenting. Of course, there are moments, even with the most angelic, well-adjusted, super-duper kids, where they're going to speak to us in what I would consider to be unacceptable terms because they haven't regulated their emotions, because they're playing with the power dynamics, because they're testing all the things. This is how I handled that with my son. We haven't had a lot of, even when he was little, not too many situations like this. There were a few times, of course, when we were in a tangle and I just did the old, don't talk to me that way. And that wasn't going to get us very far. This is the line that I used, I think only 3 times, and it really solved the problem. He said something to me that was really curt, terse, disrespectful. And I took a breath from my heart, because, heart-centered. And I said, I know you don't feel good when you talk to me like that. I know you don't feel good when you talk to me like that. I think I had also said, I can't feel good when you say that to me. And that created just this beautiful softening and pause, really got him to think about his behavior, and he made some really essential connections. And of course, I can give that to myself when I'm the snark, when I'm the snarky, the snarkette. I do not feel good about myself when I'm like being the contemptuous one, when I am showing sloppy disrespect. And as much of a stretch as it can be, how we can get back to vibrant and lit up is to be really intentional with our tone. It's going to have us breathe into our hearts. We're going to expand, and we're going to see that we really are the superior person. Okay, all right, let's move on. Okay, number 3. So tiring. When your voice is being silenced. In your various relationships, whether it's online and you are living in a perpetual petrified state of being canceled, so you are self-censoring, whether you are self-censoring at the family dinner table, in your religious congregation, in your romantic relationships. Are you with people who actively are seeking your opinion? Do you feel free? Do you feel silenced? Do you feel gaslit? Do you feel like there is an interest in your perspective, your needs, your opinions? I'll give you one of my favorite relationship hooks, which came from Terry Real, wrote a beautiful book called About Us. My man and I took his course, and for better or for worse, my man has heard this line from Terry more than once. He says, an angry woman is a woman that doesn't feel heard. Ooh, I know. I know you're writing that one down now, and I'll give it to you again. You might want to press pause right now. Bring your person in the room. And I think this works for every gender. We'll go with women for this one. An angry woman is a woman that doesn't feel heard. Okay, so how do we get from tired to vibrant and strong when we are feeling like our voices are being silenced? This is where therapy and coaching comes in. And so many of us grew up not being taught how to communicate from the heart. This should be, communication literacy should be taught in nursery school and beyond. That should be in the workplace, all levels of education, all forms of spiritual directorship. So we might have to get some skills. Doesn't matter how long we've been at this life thing or this relationship thing or the positions of power that we might be in. We can always work to become more skilled, nuanced, loving, effectual communicators. Okay, the other thing I think is we could all dig deeper for some courage sometimes, not just to speak, but to give someone the chance to hear us. Because speaking is the inroad to intimacy. And being seen, felt, heard, understood is actually the most beautiful divine experience of connection, union through vulnerability, divine intimacy. You might have to stick with that person that you've been thinking about leaving or quitting on once they learn to hear you. Oh my God. You will stay until the miracle happens. Okay, and then here's the other thing. When your voice is being silenced and you're exhausted because of it. Facts. Not everyone can hear you. Not everyone will hear you. They got their own trauma. They have their own lenses, their own paradigms, and just that is the way it is. You're going to have to go get heard from somebody else in another way. Maybe you will learn to hear yourself from the deepest parts of your being. Number 4, you don't support your own growth and healing. And that can be really tiring. I think this is an endless process for all of us to become more adept and more joyful and more prioritizing about our own growth and healing. It's like it's endless, beautiful, joyful, arduous work of coming to know our divinity. But it doesn't always look like that, does it? It looks like overworking. It looks like our health is the last on our list. It looks like putting off the light work. It looks like ego-centered and keeping the wounds and the old stories alive instead of doing the heart-centering practices. Solutions to that. What's the solution to supporting your own growth and healing? Coming up with a plan to support your own growth and healing. And I have some solutions. You might want to consider getting on the wait list to join our Heart Center membership. There's a life track and there's a business track, and carving out the time, whether you're going to come to my classes live or you're going to spend 1 hour, 60 to 90 minutes a month to do something that's about balancing your nervous system and getting closer to your higher self and being so mindful and loving that you just got your tone with your inner fragmented, gnarly creatures inside of yourself and the gnarly creatures outside of yourself. You got that tone dialed. That's a solution, is community. Commit to supporting your own growth and healing. This is really about devotion. The question is simple. What will I embody? What will I embody? So we could ask ourselves, what do I want to embody? But that puts us in a zone of desire and it's out there in the future. So I want to italicize and underscore our intention. What will I embody? And this is actually a question around devotion, which is part of the heart-centered way. Heart-centered, the whole planner system that we've built. You've got your perspective. How do you look at life? And then that moves into devotion. What will I embody? Because commitment is a powerful force. So what exactly are we committed to? Who we are being and becoming is more important than what we're accumulating, what we're keeping score of. And devotion, like your real deep commitment to being loving in your thoughts and your speech and your actions, to being resilient and radiant and joyful. You know what that is? It's the opposite of tiring. Okay, you know what else is tiring? Reason number 5. Expansion, inclusion seems like it's far off in the future. Like wanting to be bigger, brighter, wealthier, healthier, more conscious, wanting to belong is like distant. You have a hard time seeing yourself growing. You have a hard time right now seeing yourself fitting in, being embraced. And there's a couple reasons for this. One is you could have this old pain story that's on repeat. This mental looping that feels strangely comforting because it's familiar. And there's some secondary gain to continuing to tell the story about how we got neglected and rejected and dumped and no one ever sees us, all those things. And you know what's going to happen because why? You've been here for a while with me. Or maybe you're new. Hello, I love you, welcome. Energy follows thought. Energy follows thought. I always say this 3 times. Energy follows thought. So we have to ask ourselves, what's the energy of that thought that we're thinking? If that thought is constrictive, if it's fearful, if it's negative, we're going to attract that kind of energy. That kind of energy is going to trot right in before those thoughts. So we want to be choosing more life-affirming thoughts, right? More courageous, loving, lit up, positive thoughts. Now, another reason that fitting in or growing can feel like a dream that may never come true, which is really tiring to hold those dreams that are fraught with doubt, it's exhausting, is we might not actually have the life experience of belonging, of being supported to grow. We may have no relationship whatsoever because we have not been taught, not raised in this culture of abundance. How do we get over that? Well, you could start by hanging with possibility thinkers. And this is actually going to take some work because when we haven't been raised in paradigms of abundance and we start hanging out with positive, anything's possible kind of people, they can actually kind of creep us out. We're just like, ew, you are so happy and optimistic. I don't get it. I have no frame of reference for this kind of sunshine. But just stick around because you will know them by the fruits of their labor. There will be proof of possibility thinking and positivity without it being a spiritual bypass that pays off. And you want to hang in that vibe. Furthermore, if you are one of us who has not had prior experiences of abundance or generous encouragement, one route to dissolving that pain and starting to see yourself belong and expand is to have spiritual practices that help you strengthen the bridge between you and your higher self, that help you increase the awareness that you have a soul that is all-knowing, that is generous, that is all-loving, and is here in your favor. You'll start to think thoughts like, oh, maybe the odds are stacked for me. Look at all the breaks I'm getting. Yeah, so you're going to get those practices going where you're going to sit and be receptive to that soul light pouring into your messed up mind. And it's going to be wonderful and healing. And then there's therapies. There's EFT. There's tapping, emotional freedom technique. There's EMDR. There's psychedelics. Please be mindful with the psychedelics. You've got to feel some higher guidance. You've got to work with people who have credibility, maybe even lineage. I think psychedelics, they have their place, but not everywhere. There's sound healing. There's spiritual community. And there's learning how to vision. So let me tell you about my Vision Builder event coming up. And this is not a soft sell. This is a very direct, full-hearted, bright, luminous invitation. Heads up, January 1st is not actually the new year. There's lots of things I could tell you to explain this. Gregorian calendar, a pope who once upon a time just decided we're going to do this differently. But you know what? We get so much clarity and we have so much more energetic support when we hitch our planning to the planet. So how about we get together on the Lunar New Year when things are actually fresh and not commercialized and contrived, and we look at the future together. I'm offering an event that I am super stoked to attend. That actually, if somebody else were offering this, I'd be like, I am there. Where do I sign up? 11,000 people are already qualified to attend this event. The Vision Builder, the Vision Builder. All you got to know is January 29th, Lunar New Year, the Vision Builder. DanielleLaporte.com/guess what? Vision Builder. Let me say that in a different way. DanielleLaporte.com/Vision Builder, or you click the link in the show notes. The event actually fans out to be a multi-class program. And I've built in lots of layers, 7 life areas, all based on about 10 years of research. 300,000 people have gone through the original methodology of this, and I've made it better. It's a heart-centered approach, not just to planning and goal setting, but to action. And I love, love, love it. So until then, you just stay in your fun bun and you chill and you relax like you know you want to, because that's the natural thing, right? New year, new you. Not yet. Lunar New Year, January 29th. Okay, number 6. You know what's really tiring is not feeling safe and secure. You might not be safe and secure right now. Maybe you are in a legitimately threatening situation, which would be putting you in perpetual fight or flight mode. Cortisol levels are jacked. You're heading towards adrenal fatigue. You feel like you're fighting for your life. You've got to get help. Do not keep it a secret. Put the shame of the situation in your backpack, and you've got to reach out wherever you can for help. When you are in clear and present danger, you need to get clear and present about being a beloved child of the universe and doing the most loving thing for yourself. Okay. Hopefully, that is very few of you listening. For the rest of us, what we are probably dealing with when we do not feel safe and secure in relationship and walking through the world in places where there is actually safety and security is we have unresolved trauma, and we've got our trauma goggles on, and they just see everything as a threat. We're walking through the world on guard, ready to be offended and dumped. In ADHD terms, some of us have what's called rejection sensitivity dysphoria. It's an actual thing. ADHD as a brain condition can be incredibly exhausting. Just not feeling like you can relax. Exhausting. I have a handful of people in my life right now where they are coming to the revelation that they have some degree of ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And it's making a lot make sense. But one of the things that's really getting clarified is it explains their perpetual fatigue. And then there's those of us who just don't feel safe and secure to say what we need to say in a relationship or to walk through the spaces that we live in. And that brings me to my next point, number 7, which is when you don't give yourself permission to live by your values, to express your values, it can be really tiring. I had a friend who was in the closet with their sexuality forever, most of their adult life. They had health problems, interestingly enough, problems with their reproductive system, steady, deep bouts of depression. You know, they just lived their life feeling muffled. And eventually they worked up their courage to tell their family, and all the symptoms lifted. The reproductive stuff, the depression, the malaise, gone. I have friends who just seemed cantankerous and dismal and were in avoidance of the people they loved the most because they were closeted about who they voted for. I have a friend who, after years of questioning her religious indoctrination, decided to finally stop wearing her hijab and at the same time remain a really in love with her faith, devout Muslim. And what a difference in how she lived her life and parented and got educated and began to work more in an industry that lit her up. So the antidote to not giving yourself permission to live by your values, obviously, is to live by your values, but all of the success stories get written when you stop waiting for permission from anybody else to be who you are and you go public, sometimes selectively, mindfully, with your beliefs. And you need to know as a spiritually mature adult that when you come out with who you fully are, it will not necessarily be harmonious, but it will be powerful and it will be freeing and it will be life affirming and it will be the opposite of exhausting. And with all that freed up life force and prana and luminosity, you will have the energy to deal with everybody's subtle and not so subtle bullshit. All right, I have a question for you. What's your relationship to silence and solitude? Because this is number 8, last one on the list. If solitude is last on your list of renewable energies, you're going to be tired. Everybody needs solitude, just like everybody needs good sleep. Everybody. Even the extroverted mamas and the CEOs with teams and the teachers who love teaching and the public people who love being in the public eye, we all need solitude. You need to hear yourself think. You need to get yourself in a state of receptivity so you can get clear signals from your higher guidance system. Your soul is waiting for you to just take a minute, pause, slow down, and listen so you can hear the next right, best move. So, what's your relationship to silence and solitude? And your answer to that, the quality of your relationship, is going to be where your vibrancy and strength is. All right, loves, let's tie this up with a bow. When your people question your worth, what are you going to do? You're going to go where the love is. You're going to find a better fit because you love yourself. And if you want to stay where you're at, then you're going to get really enthusiastic about working to increase your value to the situation in a really healthy way. Or you're going to accept, as in you're going to choose the virtue, capital A acceptance, that the people you're with are at a different level of consciousness and somebody else in your orbit is going to affirm for you your worth. It's implicit. Okay. All right. Number 2, when there is some sloppy disrespect, you're going to soften. You're going to do the revealing for the healing. You're going to get vulnerable with your requests or might have to be all in the same day in the same relationship. You are going to very clearly state your requirements, your expectations. What do you do when you feel like your voice is being silenced? Well, we all have to work on our communication skills. We will all have moments when we need to speak, even if our voice is shaking, because it is the radiant truth. And remember, the loving thing to do is to find someone who wants to listen to you. That's self-care. 4, are you supporting your own growth and healing? Come on, are you? Let's do it. Question to help you get there. What will I embody? I'm going to do it. I have the intention. I will embody. And then you fill in the blank of your devotion. I will embody resilience, joy, generosity. Our 5th point, expansion, a sense of belonging, inclusion seems like it's far off into the future. What are you going to do? You're going to love on your trauma. You're going to hang with possibility thinkers and put your cynicism on hold. You're also going to come to my Vision Builder event on Lunar New Year. Okay, 6, you don't feel safe and secure. Okay, if you are legit in danger, you are going to get clear and present with self-love. You're going to tuck that shame away and you're going to get help. And then for the rest of us, we're going to love on our trauma in steady, sometimes formulaic ways to actually lean into experiences and get more evidence that the universe is a friendly place. And then 7, we're going to give ourselves permission to live out loud by our values. We're going to go public with our beliefs. And we might have to hold that coming out as an experiment, but that is where the vibrancy is. And then because you love yourself with such fierceness, with such devotion, you are going to put solitude on the top of your list. It is one of your most renewable, powerful energies. So please build in the pause into your days, your vacation plans into your life. Your soul is waiting to tell you things. So here's our prayer for deep self-respect that has us love deeply and care deeply. May you get the rest. May you write the permission slip. May you live out loud, your own level of volume, your own medium, your own language. Your subconscious is listening to you. Your inner child is listening to you. It needs a new healing script. And you know who writes that script? Your higher self. Your infinitely lovely, loving soul will tell you just what to say to your unconscious self. Ask your heart how to heal your overtiredness. Or you can just hit repeat on this episode because I'm always here for you. With love, Danielle. Thank you so much for listening, for feeling, for spreading the word. With love.